Hi, everybody. It's Karen Brinkley from Women Leading Women Australia with a message for those of us who are feeling tired. Now, last week I asked a room of board directors and executives how many of them had walked in tired that night, and half raised their hands. Many more than half raised their hands when I asked who had walked into their last meeting feeling tired. Now, I know and understand the pressure to get past COVID, to stop using it as a distraction from progress or an excuse for underperformance. The reality is many of us were already exhausted going into COVID. After a summer of traumatic bushfires, we followed that up not only with COVID's pivot on a pinhead, but with floods, with workforce instability, with financial instability, with cyber instability. Now, here's the thing about tired. It doesn't always get better on its own. A good night's sleep doesn't always fix it. A long weekend is rarely enough. And if you're returning from a holiday feeling just as exhausted and lackluster, or even more so, than you were before you left, well, what are the chances that you are bringing your best director and executive self to your roles? We are, all of us, pretty good at pushing through. Hell, we are resilient, we're tough. As board directors and executives, we are required to lead and to guide, to adapt, to mitigate, to question, to challenge, to assure and reassure, issue after issue, crisis after crisis. Our workforces are exhausted and we know it. We're exhausted too. And I'm not sure how often we're admitting that to ourselves, let alone to our colleagues. We can't even admit to ourselves that a year after all COVID border restrictions were lifted across Australia, we still haven't quite caught our breaths while we're busily pushing through and pursuing business as usual. But pushing through is not a sustainable option if you haven't addressed the underlying reasons for the exhaustion and disengagement. We talk about the new normal and hurry on in our old patterns, and that leaves us under-resourced, under-energized, and ill-equipped to handle the next situation that confronts us. And that can be dangerous for us and our organizations. Stale, tired, burnt-out individuals make for stale, tired, burnt-out boards, committees, executive teams. Poor leadership, poor decision-making, poor risk mitigation. The ramifications are real and they're serious. And so what's to be done? Well, I think the very first step is to determine where you are on the tiredness spectrum and to decide if that's where you want to be. And if it's not, how will you get the replenishment and the restoration you need to fulfill your obligations to the best of your ability, to show up as your freshest, most energized, wise and brilliant self? Now, you can work with the usual advice. Improve your sleep, build more space into your day, delegate some of your responsibilities, find your flow. It might be that all you need now is a reminder to do these things. And if that's the case, then please consider this your reminder. But if it was just that simple, would you still be this exhausted? We hear this advice, but we don't take it. And I'm telling you now with all the care in my heart, if you don't take it, if you don't make rest, spaciousness and flow a priority, if you don't schedule it with the same importance that you schedule all of your commitments to others, you will burn yourself out. A wish and a prayer that you might catch up is not going to be enough. If you take a moment or two right now just to be still, to tune in, to listen to what your body as well as your mind and heart are telling you, you'll know whether this reminder is enough. You'll know whether you have all that you need to bring yourself back from tired to replenished. And if you don't, it might be time to seek support from a medical or a mental health professional, from a trusted confidant, from your colleagues, from your employer, from your family. If you're listening to me right now and you know you're in that place and you can't see a way through it, then please reach out here on LinkedIn or through my website so we can work out who in your network you can get support from. And if you're listening knowing that you're actually okay, and knowing that somebody in your circle, on your board, amongst your executive colleagues, on your team is not okay, then please would you forward this message to them and check in with them to let them know that you are there with support. Hands up if you're ready to move on this tiredness and put it behind you once and for all. Much love to you. See you again soon.